Hi everyone, we are back. No David this week. I'm not sure I'm actually legally allowed to say what David's up to today. And I'm kidding you on. He's just got a wee day off, Scott. Don't look too worried. But no David. Not a great deal happening either, Scott. It's kind of calm before the storm, as I've been saying all week. No midweek game for Celtic this week, but I'm sure we'll manage to chat about a few things. We'll always find something to chat about, won't we?
Absolutely. Miss my mate today.
Am I not your mate?
Yeah, of course you are, Hamish. Of course you are. But always miss his insight. So he's sorely missed today. I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
I think he's just got a day off. There's nothing major about it. I think he has a day off and didn't fancy giving up some of his time on his day off. But we'll move on and we'll try not miss David too much. Lots to chat about. There's a few stories that I want to get your thoughts on, as well as the cup tie against one of your many old sides on Monday night. I actually forgot you played for Dundee United, but I'm sure we'll come on to that. No European football this week, Scott. I guess you're relatively happy about that, given that it's all about the league.
I've banged the drum from the beginning on that one, haven't I? In terms of even the Europa League, yes, it's good, but and your first season, let's get down to basics. Let's get the real things won first and then build on that. And I think they'll be very, very happy for, at least, a Saturday or a week, more than a week's rest between games, which has been few and far between since they came back from even the winter break. So allows them all to recharge the batteries, allows Ange to get on the grass where he loves to be and work on a couple of things possibly as well. There'll be no rest in that sense, I think, at times in terms of what they do on the grass. But very pleasing. Obviously, the 15-year hoodoo's away as well after the weekend, which was fantastic. Real positive performance. Lots to say on that, and it was really good to see James C. Forrest score his first league goal. Can you believe, of the season? It's incredible to think that that's only his first one, but hopefully he can now not necessarily get a solid run in the team, but stay fit and be that player that Celtic need from time to time to go and open teams up if need be. Because I think, or even if Jota's not performing or Abada's not performing, he can step in and play his part now.
Yeah, it was great to see James Forrest not just scoring but back to his best as well, and I thought when he came on last week against St Mirren he looked quite good as well. You mentioned training there. Ange quoted today as saying that training is really serious and competitive right now, as you would expect. Obviously as fans, like, we look at the fact Celtic are out of Europe and you automatically think that's good news in terms of the weekend. We can focus on the weekend, we're less likely to pick up injuries, fatigue and all that kind of stuff. As a player, I mean, I'm assuming you would want to still be playing European football, but are there real benefits? Do your legs genuinely feel much better on a weekend if you've not played during the week?
Yeah, I think so. Particularly for the players that are playing most minutes. I think who it will frustrate probably is the players that haven't had as many minutes and maybe getting minutes in those games and now they're done. Yeah. So you have to manage them better during the week as well and keep them invigorated, keep them motivated. I think their motivation right now, like Andrew's talking, is that he won't press the off button. He'll expect everyone to be doing all the right things, but go and push for the place. It's good to see at the moment. There's, for a lot of positions, there's two players for each position, which is very, very healthy. And at a club like Celtic, because when you play for a club like Celtic, it's massive. There's no excuses. You don't have time to spit the dummy out or be in a huff as a player, because you do that, you're out the door. So it's that big enough a club, you're always replaceable. So you have to get your head down, work hard, and just like we've seen, Bitton come back in again, done a great role, and Forrest as well come in. So
Ralston.
If you're going to win Ralston as well again, coming in for Juranovic. So it just shows that the squad now is capable and strong enough now, particularly. And you still got the likes of David Turnbull to come back from long-term injury as well, which is crazy. So, the squad's looking really strong compared to, we go back to the start of the season, what we talked about. It's night and day. And it gives you confidence for the run in ahead that, if there is one or two injuries, you've still got people that are capable to go and fit that role now and be the difference.
I was away seeing the B team in action yesterday, and I was actually struck by the amount of players in that game yesterday that we'd seen playing for the first team this season. Likes of Dembele, Dane Murray at the start of the season playing. Joey Dawson came in when we had no other options, and I guess that in itself just shows the options Celtic have nowadays, that those guys who are clearly quite talented, but our B team players are nowhere near the first team, when at times earlier this season we were almost having to rely on them.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's right. And, that little experience for those players will give them the world of confidence when they come back down to that level, that they are a level above. No matter how their performances were at that level, they would have took a lot of experience, good and bad, from that. And more the bad sometimes makes you a better player as well. Things you should do better. But also when you come back down a level, your mindset, as long as it's curtailed in the right way, is that I'm better than this level now, but I've still got to go and prove it, and I'm hungry to get back to where I was. So as long as that's right, and that's obviously within the coaching staff and the mentality of the group, and what going into changing rooms every day and being a part of that. But why wouldn't it be? Like I said, at a club like Celtic, if you don't, you're out the door. Particularly if you're a young fella, this is your chance. You've got to take it. So you've just got to keep pushing, keep progressing. And, it's good. It's good that they've had the opportunity. Now it's time to work and prove themselves and try and get back in there.
Yeah, and they looked like they were working hard yesterday, so that's all good. Right, final question on the whole fixture congestion and all that kind of stuff, because I'm completely obsessed with that. 2008, we come back to win the league. You're obviously playing at that stage, while Rangers go to the UEFA Cup final the same season. I think 5 years prior to that, it was the kind of opposite. We got to the final in Seville. They won the league. How much of a factor do you think it was in 2008? And do you think it could be similar this year? Because I kind of expect Rangers to maybe beat Red Star Belgrade and have 2 more games after that.
Well, if you ask the other lot across the road, they'll say it had everything to do with it, and nothing to do with us in terms of
in
winning
2008.
games. Yeah, in that season, they'll put it all down to that, of course. Look, it might have had its benefit a little bit, but we still had to go and win games to win the league. So you still have to go and do your job, regardless of what Rangers are going to do if they're going to qualify for the next stage of European football. Really, and I think Ange has probably touched on it many a time. Mate, I'm just going to worry about what we're doing, right? And I think that's probably... I don't know if that was a good Ange interpretation there, but...
You've got the accent. It's not quite as good as my Aussie accent, but you're getting it.
But... it's all about what Celtic do, and he's focused on winning his games. And look, there's 2 big ones to come as well. I think, as much as we don't say that they don't win you the league, I think these 2 games are going to really show you where it's probably going to end up in terms of those 2 results within those 2 games as well. Some big important ones before that, they're all important. Like we've said it time and again. I said there'll be points dropped, particularly away from home. Tough games. Celtic, though, that would have been one that Rangers would have been hoping Celtic were finally going to drop some points against Livingston, because they had done previous. Because you always look at those ones when you're on the opposite end and go, they don't like going there, let's hope that they drop them again. Didn't. So that's quite deflating for the opposition as well, in that sense, because those are the types of games you're hoping and praying that they're going to drop them, and they haven't. So when that doesn't come your way, you start thinking, when are they? Is it going to actually happen? And I think the way that at the moment, the way Celtic are just grinding it out and playing well in certain times of the games, and not so much, is that the only way it's going to upset them is if within the next Celtic Rangers game, if they don't get the result that they want, then the pressure builds from that. So I think the next one's going to be massive, particularly because it's away from home. How that result goes for Celtic in the running within the top 6.
Yeah, the tendency is to look at that Rangers game. It's 3 games to go until the split. That's the one that sticks out, because the other 2 are at home. The Ross County one for me is quite a tough one, because they're one of the form teams in the league at the moment, and they'll come and have a go at us. That could suit us more. But what's the tendency when you're in a title race to take your eye off the ball? Does it happen? And maybe you focus on a game 2 weeks away and accidentally drop points in a lesser game.
No, I wouldn't say you do. I wouldn't say you look ahead more than the game you're playing. It's just that you get anxious within the games at times. The longer they go, at times, if you haven't scored a goal, if you get particularly the ones at home. We talked on it last week. I think Hamish, when you're playing at home and the game's not the goals haven't come early on, like St Mirren, and they get edgy. Everyone gets edgy, and you're just going, is it going to happen? Today. So I think more those types of things go through your head going, just hope it's not one of those days where we have chance after chance and it doesn't come. So I think you've just got to go into them, be confident, and try and start games really well, get that early goal, like on the weekend, and it sets you up really well for the rest of the game.
We're in quite a strong position right now, and I think it's all right to say that, isn't it? I mean, we're not getting ahead of ourselves. Well, we're not. John McGinley, don't know if you saw on Sunday after the game, getting very confident. It's ours to lose now, he says. But we are in a good position. I mean, we've got far fewer games to play in Europe. We've got 5 of our final 8 games at home. Rangers have got the opposite. They've only got 3 at home. We've got a 3-point lead. If we're to get a draw, even a draw at Ibrox, we're in a really good position going into the split. So we are in a good position, aren't we?
Absolutely. If you're wanting to pick one or the other, which one would you pick?
Yeah.
You're always going to pick Celtic's position, of course you are. So, in a sense, John's right. It's Celtic's to lose, but it's Rangers to win. And again, if they go and they beat Celtic in that game at Ibrox, the pendulum swings straight away because you stop looking at where the games are played and you go with the momentum at that point. Yeah. All right, and then the pressure flips on Celtic's head there. It's a crisis. All of a sudden, lost the game. Panic stations. How does the players react within that pressure because the games then come quick. So I think for me, that's this next one's really pivotal in terms of where the title goes.
Yeah. Well, what did you think was different about the game on Sunday compared to our previous 5 visits there?
I think the way we started. Straight away, very direct, getting balls into the box, creating chances. At times when gone to Livingston, it's been backwards, sideways, slow, ponderous. Not what you need when you play against the Livingston side when the pitch is as slow as it is, I think. And it allows them to gain momentum within the game. Fans get frustrated too because if you ask any of the players in terms of the atmosphere there, because see Celtic make the atmosphere there, but it can also work in the reverse for you because they're that close to the game. So the slower the game, the less atmosphere, the more frustrated they become because there's not as many chances. And I just think that the way that they come out are the blocks within that game. And look, you miss a penalty within the first 10 minutes of the game and you're thinking, oh, here we go again. I bet that's what was running through your thoughts at the stadium.
Far too many expletives to even and then he missed the sitter right after it. He headed
with a header. Yeah, but come on, Callum's not well renowned to be a header of the ball, especially with a mask on. Yeah. Right, so, but yeah, you're thinking, oh, here we go. This is going to be one of these days. But fair play, keep going. And obviously Maeda, who we were talking about last week, not getting in those areas or just not getting his head on things. Got his head on that one on the weekend. He was right place, right time. So
it was a very Scott McDonald goal, wasn't it?
They all count, don't they? They still counts as a notch at the end of the day in your stats. So I don't think he'll care. And it was perfect for him to get that goal at that point. And I think when Ange touches on, probably it's healthy and competitive mode. If you look at someone like Giakoumakis, he'll be chewing at the bit after scoring a hat-trick and coming onto some form and then having to miss out through injury. He'll be wanting to play again. So you'll have a few people, we have a few players like that at the moment, like desperate to get back in that team, which is great. It's great to have right now. And we're probably talking about a guy now we'll probably talk about, but that was similar to Scott Brown in that season that you talk about in 2008. In the end, he couldn't get back in our team because Robson and Hartley became formidable in there. But he was coming on and making differences in games too, because he was a great player to have, and he'd been through some things that season, maybe an injury or so, and then we found a formula, but he kept coming on, and he was playing right midfield back then. Can you believe?
I remember it.
But doing a job. And I think that's important that Celtic have that in their running, that they have these types of players, like we just said, Jamesy Forrest and the likes of.
Yeah, we'll just move on to Scott Brown then. He announced his departure from Aberdeen earlier in the week. They're not a former team of yours, are they, Aberdeen?
No.
Just thought I'd check. I don't think Scott Brown's officially retired, but we do expect that he probably won't play anymore. We'll just kind of go through the Scott Brown chat then. What was he like to play with? Because he wouldn't have been captain, would he, when you were there?
No, he was nowhere near captain at that point. He was just...
Were you above him?
No, I wouldn't say that. We're just one of the lads, just one of us, you know?
Right.
We had quite an experienced squad at that point in terms of... And probably, I'm not saying Scott wasn't a leader, but we had just more experienced players and leaders within the group. And everyone was a leader anyway. I think once... obviously Steve McManus was the captain at the time. We had Gary Caldwell, who was a captain in his own right, went on to do things as well. Jan Vennegar Hesselink was there, another one. Paul Hartley was captain at Hearts. Stephen Presley was captain at Hearts. You keep going on and on. Like Bubba Balde was still at the club there when we first signed. Artur Boric you had as well. It was a very, very senior group that we had. Nakamura, and then you had... that was within the first season we signed together. Me and Scott at the same time.
All right.
So we were more the younger pups coming into the environment at that point. And then, Scott was always going to be a leader though. What he did get better was actually talking in front of the camera, which was good to see over time. Instead of I don't know, which I still have a laugh. We still have a laugh about now when I speak to him, but he's never changed. That's what I love about him. He's still the same guy off the pitch as what he was 12 years ago. He's never changed. Lovable character, lovable rogue, I'd like to say about him. And you know what? He was, in terms of a player, and the energy levels that he had were phenomenal. And he was a phenomenal captain for Celtic and will be an icon and rightly so, will probably have his own statue at some point at the football club for what he's done. He'll go down in history, and I'm proud of him and I'm really happy for him in terms of that. Slightly envious too, because he played in a phenomenal era of Celtic football as well. But he thoroughly deserves all the accolades he's had and what he will do up till now. And now it's the next part of the journey. And my goodness, he's had some good managers, top managers to learn off. So I'm sure he's learnt a lot. And now it's just about putting that into practice into the next thing and what he's going to do, whether or not he goes straight into a head coach role or if he's going to go down the route of possibly doing an academy role or an assistant role somewhere. Time will tell. Slightly surprised, obviously, that the announcements come that he left Aberdeen right now, considering that there's only, 8 games left or so.
And they're struggling.
Seemed a bit abrupt, and it leads you to believe that there's a little bit more to it than what's happened. Obviously, there's been a fallout of some sort, which I think, it's disappointing. But again, it's not a tarnish on Scott Brown. I think Scott done a fine job when he was up there as well. Again, it was, did he jump too soon? Maybe he did. I still think he could have done a job for Celtic this year. But again, speaking to him, he didn't want to be a bit part player. That was never his mentality. I don't think he could handle not playing week in, week out. He wanted to play and be integral. And I think that's probably what it boils down to at Aberdeen again, that if that wasn't going to be his role and given that opportunity to do that till the end of the season, then he felt probably best it wasn't for him and he didn't want to do it, which is fair enough. In terms of where he's at in his career and at his age and the travelling he's doing as well, people won't realise, because his family's still based in Edinburgh. So the sacrifices he had made to probably go up to Aberdeen in that first instance, it's probably been, the toughest 7 months of his career for a long time, because he'd been at Celtic, everything was comfortable in the sense of it was just normal structure. Then you come out of that structure of 11, 12 years, go somewhere else, and then you're making different sacrifices, and the trophies aren't coming with it now. So, not to say he fell out of love with it, but it's always tough when you leave the best. Mentally, I'm not speaking from his point of view, but from mine, it was tough too. When you go, you're dropping a level of personnel, dropping a level of pressure, dropping a level of expectation, and that's the hardest thing to deal with more than anything, because your expectations and your mindset and where you've been and what you are is the best. And when you drop, a lot of the players can't sustain that for long periods of time, and that's why that they're there, and that's why you're there. So again, I'll get a chat with him at some point, I'm sure, and I'd be interested to know his thoughts on that. But just a brief text to him yesterday, text me back, and just wished him all the very best and the happiness within the next stage. And I said, welcome to the club, if it's true. So happy retirement.
Brilliant. Well, do you have any impression of what he might do? I assuming that coaching would be a must in his next job. He's not just going to go as a player somewhere. Do you think a return to Celtic could be on the cards at some stage?
Well, I think that will always be there for him. If that's his first steps into the coaching, it could well be. I do believe he had the chat with St Mirren as well about a role there, the head coach role there. So it's in his mind that he wants to be one already. So I think he may fancy probably just going out on his own. There's no question he's got the bottle to do it. He believes in himself. He's always has done. He's always backed himself. So, but yeah, look, there's no right or wrong in it, in which pathway you go. It's just where you are mentally, or your mentality of what you want to do, and it's a confidence thing. If you feel that you're ready to be that guy and be a head coach and play that role for all your players, and if that's what makes you have the buzz, which I think for him will, because he's always been in a changing room, he's been a captain, been a leader. The expectation's always been there on him. He's had to pick people up, lift them. So it's similar things to obviously being a head coach. You just need to learn the other things as well from a tactical aspect. But from an emotional one, he'll know how to touch players because he's just come out of change room. So as long as you don't lose that, I think you're in a very good place.
Yeah, many people I think are expecting him to come back to Celtic at some stage, possibly even manage Celtic one day. Without putting words into your mouth, I dare say that something like that would be something you'd hope for maybe one day, certainly, managing a top European club. How long is that, how long and difficult is that coaching journey, retiring, going in at, well, due respect, a lower level and working your way up? Is it quite a daunting journey?
It can be. Ask Ange. How long's Ange been doing it?
Yeah,
20
years. Yeah.
Okay, how long has it taken him to get here? So, as long as you're dedicated, you're motivated, and you're willing to learn and accept that it's not going to be all rosy, and you're willing to just keep pushing through those periods and keep putting yourself out there, I think he will. I think that's just his nature. I think he'll be fine. Again, no one can tell one other what they want or what they're thinking in terms of where they think their future is best served as a coach or a head coach. I think the decision has to be made. I think a lot of people that decide to go into one or the other or almost end up becoming that. There is cases where that's not the case and they can move in, particularly if you've been coaching at younger ages. Like i.e. Kevin Thompson's done and gone to Kelty, done fantastic job. You have to start somewhere. So for me, going to Celtic would be fantastic for him. Is it going to get his juices flowing? I don't know. That's the other big question. doing under 18s gig, are you more interested in doing the development phase, or are you wanting to be with men because that's what you've done for the last 12 years? Only Scott can answer that.
Yeah, without knowing at all, I would tend to guess it might be the latter, that he might prefer like even if he had to drop into the Championship or something like that and take on a club and be the manager, I think he'd probably prefer that. But as you say, only he will know. Shall we move on?
Just saying on that, because I like talking about stuff like this, but again, that comes with risks.
Yeah.
So, because if you don't get it right, then what happens?
You become a Barry Ferguson, don't you?
So this is the thing for young aspiring coaches. Some will go, right, I've got the balls to do it, and I'm going to go head first. Or, you know what, I want to learn a little bit more. I want to go down the route of having a mentor and learning a bit more and getting on the grass, getting my sessions in, understanding what kind of philosophy I want to have, tactical way. And then going, right, okay, because I can copy and paste a lot of these head coaches that I've had, but what am I? What do I want? What do I see? So maybe you go down that safe route first, and then, right, I'm ready. But some just go full on in, and it works. So there's no right or wrong. It's just what you've learned along the way, and can you then, pass that knowledge on?
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on Scott Brown and see how he does. It's going to be a fascinating coaching journey if his playing career is anything to go by. We will briefly move on, Scott, and finish the video by chatting about certainly two of your former clubs, Dundee United, Celtic. Monday night, Scottish Cup quarter-final. How much do you care about the Scottish Cup, Scott?
Oh, I do, because there's a treble on.
Yeah.
So I care about it a lot in that terms. It's not European blood or glint. This is one-off game, very close now. It's always nice to finish off the season. I never got the opportunity to, but at Celtic. But if you can go and attack that and that one game cup final for a treble, if Celtic were to win the league as well. So, look, if you ask any fan, I think that they'll be desperate to get another trophy in the cabinet as well, as will Ange. So I think every game's important now to the end of the season, and that's why, again, not having the European games as a sideshow on this, you can really concentrate on these games.
It's probably different to Europe, isn't it? Because the matches are at weekends. It's not as if they're crammed in midweek. There's no replays, anymore in the competition. And even the final is obviously after the league season if we get there, so it's not even really relevant to the league. Is the pressure almost off a little bit in the cup?
No, I don't think so. Do you think it is?
I think it slightly is. I mean, see if Monday night, if we were going to Dundee United and it was a league game, I'd be already, thinking about it, so nervous. And I'm not saying when it gets to Monday afternoon, I won't be really excited and nervous and all of that stuff. But at the moment, I'm a bit like, all right, Dundee United, obviously, really hope we get through and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm almost already looking at Ross County as being the mega game. It's just kind of how I feel.
Do you know what? I can't blame you for that either, because I've been shouting for weeks about European football, and it's the
tables have turned here, Scott.
But it's a similar thing, isn't it? Because I talk about the reward if you win the league, right, and what that is. Champions League football money that comes with that, but you've got to say, if you lose a game, the momentum shifts again. So you want to keep the momentum building. So winning games like this brings confidence, brings happiness. There's nothing coming out press-wise. People trying to, get into the Celtic psyche and disaster and radio call-ins, this, that, and the next. There's none of that. You win the game, shuts everything up, right, onto the next one. So Tannadice, never an easy place. We've seen Rangers drop points there as well this season. It was never an easy place when I used to go there. Going on the slope second half when they were coming down the hill, we were going up it. It had that psychological feel sometimes, particularly with Craig Levine's team, who were always all 6 foot plus. Yeah. And just throwing the ball in the box. I think things have changed obviously there now, but again, not saying anything's wrong with that. It's just difficult to deal with. But yeah, look, the way Dundee United are playing, it's going to pose a real big threat to Celtic for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, don't get me wrong, but I've just not quite got those butterflies that I normally would have. But as I say, over the weekend, it's a long weekend, long time to wait for the game, Monday night. I think by that stage I'll be excited. And yeah, it'd be amazing, 21st of May, Scottish Cup final. Imagine we had the league in the bag, we could go for a treble in Ange's first season. I mean, that's the stuff dreams are made of. So we'll see what happens, Scott. I think we'll leave it for today. Thanks again for joining us. Hopefully we've managed all right in David's absence. He'll be back the next time you're on, Scott. In fact, finally, what position will Celtic be in the next time we speak to you? Are we going to be further clear?
Yes. I hope so, yes. Even if it's 1 point more, which
That's
gives
what
us
we
a
want to
buffer. As long as we have a buffer of a game in hand at least.
It might be in the lead up to the derby, actually, next time we've got you on, so that should be good. Right, perfect. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll speak to you soon.
I'd just like to thank you all very much for your support over the years. And I know this season was hard, but you've got to remember the good times. We've had 9 fantastic seasons. We've had quadruple trebles. And there's not a lot of teams that are going to do that in their history. And I think you've got to make sure that you stick by these lads that are coming through, and you've given them the opportunity, and you support them through thick and thin like you have done with myself and the lads that have been here before. And that's what Celtic do. We stick by each other and we come back. We always win trophies, and they always will do.